All right. It is Monday, and if you are watching this, then we did it. We started a YouTube channel. This is our second week posting videos. This weekend, we went to the zoo with some friends, and I had some great conversations about this channel and what I'm doing with it. It was the first time that I actually shared, even with Blair and any of my friends, what I'm doing. You know, there is a level of imposter syndrome that comes with anything, especially something new that you're trying. And I was even a little bit embarrassed to tell people that I was doing this. But after a full week of committing to doing it and working on the edit, I feel like I've learned so much. And as of right now, at least, this is a net positive in my life. So we're going to keep on moving forward. And I think the way that we can be successful in moving forward is by adjusting a few things from last week. So shorter videos, at least definitely for this week. We're going to keep these talking head bits as concise as possible, and we are going to try to be a little bit more organized ahead of time with the actual outline and planning of the shots that we're going to get during the week. I also want to structure how I'm talking about the work that I do so it's a little bit more legible. I have 3 areas of my life where I am going to be presenting the work that I'm doing. One is my corporate career, that is as a staff UI UX designer. And while I work remote and have a relatively autonomous schedule, I do have a big chunk of my day committed to doing that work and making sure that I'm meeting my deadlines and obligations. And then I would say the next tier of work is PopMelt, and those side projects are going to revolve around work that I do with Rebecca. And PopMelt is great because we have full ownership and we can be as transparent as possible over the projects that we're working on and also the behind the scenes of building a more legitimate public brand. And then there are smaller personal projects, specifically around video and other little tools that I pick up that don't necessarily fit into the corporate or PopMelt category, but those will probably be a little bit less frequent. So I've got to get back to some corporate work. I am heads down all week long in Figma, just trying to get these designs in place for my meeting on Monday. It is July 4th on Thursday, so we have a little bit of a shorter week that I didn't necessarily account for, so we are in grind mode. I will be sure to catch you guys up with some PopMelt work in the evening though. All right, peace. Today was absolutely beautiful. We got the e-bikes out and went for a ride around the city, stopped and grabbed some dinner, and stayed out a little too late for a baby girl. Corporate work is going really well. I'm going to be just heads down in this design work in Figma for the rest of the week, so I'm not going to have too many updates around that work. But I'll probably have more details to share around the status of that project next week when I have my presentation on Monday. Like I said, we're trying to keep things short this week so that we can stay on track with all of the editing, which the edit for the first video is in a really good place. I haven't published anything yet. I'm still figuring out the schedule for how I'm going to post things. If I have a weekly vlog, which I'm right now thinking that's going to be the style of these videos, then I want to make sure that I give myself a little bit of buffer before I start posting so that I can make sure that I have a little bit of a runway or a gap in case something happens and I can stay consistent. That seems to be the key, is posting consistently. So once I start posting, I want to make sure that I have a video up every single week, even if it's not in the style of these weekly vlogs. I have a little bit of work to do around the actual channel itself, so the branding on the channel and figuring out what my title and thumbnail are going to be. Those seem to be really crucial elements of posting your YouTube videos. And on the PopMelt side of things, I'm mainly focused around the operational side of the business. So I am making sure that we have our Figma account up and running. I'm making sure that we have a Next.js project up and running that's synced to a new GitHub repo. And maybe towards the end of the week, I'll get into organizing some of the global styles that we're going to use for when we're building out the web animation tool. But I've got Figma all cleaned up tonight, so I just need to add Rebecca and then I can check that one off of the list. Man, what a great day. Relatively easy week. I love weeks like this where I have 1 or 2 tasks filling up the corporate side of work, just so that I've got a good amount of space in my brain open to think about other things. So I feel like this is going to be a really productive week for the side projects. But that's all we've got for tonight, so see you in the morning. I'm currently trying to get out of this current paradigm that I'm in of a YouTube video about making YouTube videos, but starting this channel is taking up a pretty good amount of my energy, so we got to talk about it. I have the first video uploaded to YouTube unlisted, but fully cut together now, and I shared a link to Rebecca just so that she can get approval of her being in it, and I'm going to show Blair later, but we're doing it. And it is so much more work than I initially intended it to be, but I have this perfectionist nature that I'm trying to get over. And it's really important for a project like this for me to be consistent with it. And in order to be consistent, I need to not be a perfectionist. You know, there will always be something with these videos that I will be unhappy with, especially watching them back in the future, I'm sure. But it's more important to get them done and get this thing started than to just keep going around in circles over what the audio mix is or what the coloring of a certain clip is. I need to slap a lot on it, do a little basic correction, and get this thing published. So that's where we're at right now, and we're starting to get feedback from other people. And while I'm not going to incorporate that feedback into this current edit, I can take notes for that for even this current week. Jumping back into this homepage design for my corporate work, but I just wanted to give you guys a quick update that today is probably going to be mostly about YouTube again and what it takes to actually get this vlog up and on its feet and to get a YouTube channel started. Man, if I actually commit to posting for a full year, this is going to be so interesting to look back on. Wow. All right, taking a break from my corporate work to jump into this call with Rebecca real quick. We're just going to talk about the YouTube video and catch up one more time on Pop Melt tasks before she leaves for vacation. Heyo.
What's up? What's up?
Not much. How you feeling before vacay?
I'm feeling good, question mark. There's been just enough time back at the job for me to be ready to step away again. I maybe should have just taken the full 2 weeks instead of sticking my head back in the fire hose for a day. But is there anything new with you? I feel like every time I ask, you're like a business as usual, maintaining, glow
Yeah,
up year, rowing.
I've just been focused on, honestly, this video has been consuming so much more of my life than I intended it to. It's like,
Okay.
it's more work than I thought it was going to be. But I also know that I'm
Mm,
in a stage where this is the most work it's going to be. And then it's only going to get easier from here. Yeah. And then
yeah.
I'm also
Okay.
like any great art project, you know, we've been doing this long enough that I'm like, you're in the spot right now where it seems useless and it looks like shit. And like
Yeah.
there's no point to what you are creating. But I
Yep.
know if I stick with, and like right now, at first I was like, I'm gonna film until August, and now I'm like, if I'm going to commit to posting, then I need to do it for like a year. You know, there's no point in
Honestly.
like that's a good kind of time frame, but then that also seems insane at this point to commit to doing this for a year on top
Yeah.
of all of
Yeah.
life right now. But yeah, I still like I haven't posted anything, so it's going to be weird if I edit this together to look back on this and I'm in this stage of like, do I even commit to doing this?
Do I do?
Yeah,
Yeah.
what am I doing? You know?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then after, but then I'm
I
also in the
mean,
stage where I have the first one, so it's like a real thing now. And I'm like,
yeah.
it's not nothing, you know?
No, the framework is there. Like you could just keep doing that. And if you did that for 1 year, you would have done something very impressive. That's like not a small catalog to look back on.
Yeah.
I mean, I have zero doubt that you'll run into it. If you decide to commit, which I mean you alluded to the it's easy to get to 80% and then the last 20%, which includes like publishing
Yeah.
is always the hardest part, which hard to relate. I've written a song, I have gotten it mixed and mastered. I've done everything except upload it into fucking DistroKid to
Yeah.
put it out.
This this weird thing about publishing, like when you get to this point, it's like this vulnerability, this imposter syndrome, this thing. Like you
Yeah.
and I are not, I mean, I would say we're not performative people. You know, our art comes
No.
from our
Unfortunately.
on I know. It's strange. And we have to
Seems like that
summon
might be easier.
yeah, we have to summon that little bit of like turn that part of your brain off that's questioning every little thing, the perfectionist part, and just be done with something, put it out, move on to the next thing, and keep on making shit. You know,
The thing that I'm like that I'm reminding myself about in that like that side of the creative process is how much I love it when I see somebody else make something that's really good, but has just enough not good in it that I'm like, "Oh, maybe I could do that." Like, that's the stuff that I love the most, and so I'm trying to remind myself when I put things together, if it seems like 90 to 95% really fucking great, and then 5% like, "Oh, a regular person made this." That probably actually elevates it. That probably actually
yeah,
makes it better in some ways than something that's like inaccessibly created by like an alien who does something no
Yes.
one else can do. Like, A, I'm never going to be that person. B, that's not the stuff that I find most inspiring. So it's probably okay. Like it's going to be bad. And so at that point, it's just being okay with myself, with it's vulnerability. It's
Yeah.
being seen as not being perfect, which is okay. But you know, maybe didn't get that message.
Blair is like a really big advocate of like, what are you doing if you're not showing anybody? And I'm like, I'm an artist. I make it for me. You know?
Uh,
Like,
uh, okay, okay. We got to
yeah,
get
yeah.
check on this. I'm worried you're giving me too much credit. I like to make stuff just for making stuff's sake. I fucking love to show it somebody and have them
Mm,
be like, "Oh my God, this is amazing." Like I live for that. The only part I don't like is the part in between those two where I'm like, I've made something I'm really proud of. Do I want to risk putting this in front of another person and having them shatter how good it feels to be proud of this thing? And sometimes that does happen, and I
yeah.
wish that I hadn't showed it to anybody. But when the opposite happens, it feels so good. But it's a big part of why I write is to show it to somebody and have somebody be like, "Oh shit, this is really good." I'm like, "Okay, yeah, it is really good, isn't it? Thank you."
Yeah. Wait,
Do you not feel that?
let's clarify that. Yeah, because I'm seeing some separation here. Let's clarify. Is it strangers or people that you care about when you're talking about
Both,
both?
both.
In terms of strangers,
They do different things
yeah.
for me, different things depending on who it is.
What's the difference?
How would I articulate the difference? For people who I know, it's like an intimacy deepening thing. Like I feel like they've seen a part of me that is not present in like my regular day to day, or are connecting this back to something that is present in the regular day to day, and that feels very special because I do think there is an element of understanding me that can only happen if you have seen one of these things that I've made
Mm,
because they feel extremely personal to me. So people who haven't seen those, like, there's a part of me you don't get yet, and once you've seen this thing, you're like, okay. So that's how it feels when I show it to somebody personally. And the flip side of that being, if they see it and they don't get it, I'm like, ooh, ooh, not understood. That's the best feeling. Not. On the flip side, showing it to somebody externally, that's a person who doesn't know me at all. And so them connecting to something that I have made tells me that I have created something, I have touched something universal
mm.
when I was making the thing I was making. And that feels really, really good because it's nice to make something for myself. But if I think about creativity as a thing that's not just for me, which there's a reason I do it professionally, there's a reason that I do like performing, even if it's very fucking scary to me. And I do like publishing my work. A big part of that is because it feels like I'm trying to contribute to a thing that people have been doing for a very long time, which is just making this funny stuff that doesn't technically mean anything, that gives some level of meaning to all of our lives, or like helps us all realize we're
Yeah.
having this kind of shared experience. So when I create something for the world and somebody who I don't know at all connects to it, that tells me that I succeeded in at least a small way. So that's what I get from that.
Yeah. I don't I don't feel anything about strangers. Like I don't think about them. I don't care.
Snippet,
Yeah,
snippet.
I don't think about them. Yeah, my Mark Zuckerberg blog post from 2008.
Yeah.
I don't think about them. I I don't really like if I make something, I'll say this. Okay, I make things from the perspective of a creator, and it's really hard for me to consume things as just a consumer. So if I am
Mm,
in a state of like I'm done with this, especially because I don't publish many things. So when I consider it personally done, I know it's good, you know, like, or else it wouldn't be done. Like, or else I would still be
yeah,
working on it. So the like confirmation
yeah,
from a stranger of being like, "Hey, this is good." Yeah, I get those like ego points, of course, and it feels good like anything else. But I don't get that like real internal validation from a stranger being like, "This is good." On the flip side, someone I love, care about, seeing something that I create, like I feel like a little kid presenting something to their mom. You know, I'm like, look at what I did,
yeah,
and even then though, I expect ultimate honesty, and I don't want the like I know that people's instinct who aren't me is to say the nice thing and keep it pushing. But what I want is the say the nice thing and then give me the criticism. I want both every time. Even if it's something
yeah,
so nitpicky, I just want to know that you're at least in your head doing the math on both ends. And you're not just
yeah,
looking like, oh, this is great, you know, like a kid's piece of art.
yeah. I mean, it's because then you know they've actually engaged with it,
Yes.
A, and B, that they're like, a thoughtful enough audience that them saying something positive actually means something.
Definitely.
Yeah, that makes sense. What do you think about creative work as like as dialogue? Like for you, is it literally just it's meant to be put out and passively consumed?
Yeah, in the current state that it is, yes, I'm really kind of avoiding the I'm an authority and teaching you something. I want to avoid the. It's
Mm,
really just like a look inside of my brain, and you can be a casual observer. I haven't really thought about the consumption of it beyond that, and which I don't know if that's a
okay.
good thing or a
I mean
bad
that
thing, you know, because I have thought about the safety. I've thought about the, like, this is the framework, I guess, of what you're kind of asking. I've thought about the mental health aspects of posting things. And
mm,
I'm, of course, like showing a little bit of my family, but I'm also focusing on keeping it very niched down to this is the topic that I know I just said I'm not an authority, but this is the topic that I'm an expert in. And this is something I feel
yeah,
comfortable. It's maybe Justin said this to me, but it's the idea of like having something interesting every day to share. And so that's kind of the perspective is like these are the areas of my life that I am doing more than just nothing or just getting gas every day. I'm like actually being intentional in these areas. They're a little extra, and so there's interesting things I find, and here's a platform to share them.
that makes sense. That makes sense. And it's like it's internally consistent with how you were talking about what you get out of art too. Yeah, I don't know. Art is like it almost sounds like you're thinking of it, not thinking of it, but it is almost functioning as like an accountability mechanism to keep you engaged in like a creative lifestyle that you enjoy. Um, which yeah, is not how I think about creative stuff. I think about it as like I do think about it as like conversation. And it was part of the reason that I stopped writing for as long as I did is I was like, I'm not doing anything with this. So like what's the point? Even though there certainly is like a point to making stuff just for its own sake. And like, I think I was swinging way too far the opposite direction. But um I don't know. I think part of that is also because of how I engage with other people's work. Like I get so much out of the interpretation of things that I'm seeing or listening to and like mapping those things back to my own life or layering them on top of my own life to elevate things that I'm currently experiencing. Like that's the way I've interacted with creative stuff my entire life. And so when I'm making stuff, even if I'm not the kind of person who's good at like brand building or like creating a persona or like some abstract vehicle to house the stuff that I'm making, it does feel like the reason I'm making it is for some other person to do with it the thing that I do with it. And it's doing a little bit of that for me. Like part of the reason I'm making it is to elevate some part of the experience I'm having
Mm.
or like transmute or like exercise it. But if no one else is able to do the same thing with it, I'm kind of like, oh, like it fell flat. Which I don't think you and I have specifically talked about this before, and
No,
we've known each other for a long time.
yeah.
So I'm glad this came up. That's interesting.
Yeah, this is definitely a different area than where we kick around in.
So,
Yeah, I need to stay in design mode. I'm like doing this design work for my corporate stuff, and I'm having a really hard time bouncing between the development and the design side of things. I just like, I'm
mm,
so much more interested in doing dev work right now that while I'm doing literally the most fun, envious type of design work that I could possibly doing right now, and I'm just like kind of slightly dreaded. Today was
it's so fucking boring.
yeah,
Yeah.
today's the switch kind of happened a little bit more, so I need to stay out of the code. I need to stay out of GitHub, and I need to just, stay focused in Figma. So I'm probably gonna, if I do get more time for the pop melt side of things, just be poking around on the, like the feature side of things and try to keep my brain in one area, you know?
Responsible.
Yeah.
Responsible. Okay, sounds good.
Awesome. Great chat. Thank you so much. Appreciate your perspective.
Yeah, I got you. This was fun. Have a good one. I'll talk to you
Later.
soon.
Peace. Ah, best friend. Best friend ever. Alright, this is a good week already. Since we have 4th of July on Thursday, it's one of those summer weeks where everyone's just kind of working on their own things. There's not too much engagement online, on Teams, and I'm able to just be heads down and focus on this design work for my corporate gig. And I'm finally starting to feel my brain switch over into design mode. I can tell because I had the project open even after work today and I was just kind of picking around at it. I am also feeling that switch in momentum where more concrete ideas are starting to take shape on the actual page. So I should be in a really good place for my meeting on Monday. Still need to stay heads down and not lose focus, but we're at least on pace. I am committed to making a little bit more progress on the pot melt side of things though, but I don't want to get distracted in code, so I am staying in Figma and currently doing some design system management, actually more of design system building. We haven't really had a cohesive design system to pull from for our pot melt work, so I think it will be really valuable to get that in order. Tonight I've got all of our color variables in place and I think I'll hit the fonts later this week. So if I do have a little bit more bandwidth opened up next week after my presentation, then I can probably jump into a little bit more feature design on the web animation tool. Let's keep things easy this week though and not stack up too much pressure on us. Let's use this as a week just to heal. We already have enough on our plate with this new video project, so let's just keep the momentum moving forward.
What do you have against this plate?
Look at it. Let me see it. Move your hands. Yeah, womp womp. I want you to watch my video.
Right now?
Yeah, while you're doing that. You don't really have to watch it too much. Just get a vibe of it.
Okay, play it.
Okay, you don't have to watch this whole thing, it's very long.
Are you the 13 views?
Yeah.
You've watched this 13 times?
I mean, yeah, probably.
It's an hour long.
Oh yeah.
It's good.
You think it looks great?
Yeah, for sure.
Do you get the vibe of it?
Yeah.
You get the vibe?
Yeah, I don't understand like the technical stuff to know like the value there, but I'm sure some people would like that.
Even without knowing the technical things, did you feel yourself just like starting to listen to it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I probably know more than like.
Yeah, because I talked to you about this.
Right. But I feel like people that are into that thing will. Have you shown Rebecca?
Yeah.
What does she think?
She really likes it. I've shown Rebecca and I've shown Aaron so far, and both of them they really like it. They seem to understand the vibe of it.
Yeah.
And Rebecca gets the technical side of it too. And we had, like I said, we had more of a discussion around just the idea of publishing something altogether and what that audience is of am I trying to get people to actually sit here and listen to this, or is this just something? Or is this just something that we play in the back? Yeah. Let me go get the mug.
Check. The mug. Hey, honey. Oh.
Dada.
It is Dada.
Dog. Do you think that it is worth continuing to do?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I love that you're using all your toys. I mean, tools.
Says
My
Baba.
Bye-bye. Ooh, a little old coffee. Just to get through the afternoon. All right, post-meeting catch-up. We are in a great place with all of our corporate work. I had my Wednesday weekly meeting, and we touched base on our outstanding tasks. I pretty much just confirmed that I will have things ready for our presentation on Monday. But other than that, it's July 4th tomorrow, so everyone's cutting out early, and I'm going to do the same. I feel like I'll probably have this project open tomorrow just to pick around at it and keep it moving a little bit forward. I don't want to lose this pace even though I have the day off. It's absolutely never required for me to work outside of my work hours, but sometimes if I'm happy with a direction that a project is going, I'll pick it up and make a few changes, of course. And that's another one of those privileges of having a job that you actually like. You don't feel that debt of time, like I need to get my time back for giving you time. But it is something that I try to be conscious of so I can maintain some semblance of a work-life balance and I'm not committing too much of myself just to the corporate work. All right, we're good. Check in later. We finally got some time tonight to make progress on the Pop Melt web animation tool project. Gotta rename this thing, but I'm back in Figma working on some of the component designs. I've already created one rough design draft for the main screen of the web animation tool where you're actually building out the animations, but those initial screen designs were really just to get an idea of the features that we would need to ship like an MVP, a minimum viable product, and also just to have a visual to reference when I was discussing the idea of the app with Rebecca. So now that we're taking things a little bit more seriously and we're going to get into the actual build of this project, I am going back through in Figma and I'm doing another pass just to make sure that the user experience is as intuitive as possible for this initial build. Things are still a little messy, so I don't think I'm ready to show you guys anything tonight, but when I get this page fully built out, we'll do our first demo and get your eyes on the tool for the first time. And it will be great to show you guys how the development of these products is often an iterative process. So the first pass of these designs is definitely not going to be what you are going to see in production when we get to launch, but you've just got to get something onto the screen and moving forward. It's kind of the motto for this week. I think I've been talking about it a lot. It's just carrying this momentum that we're getting with this wave of energy towards the design side of things. I am trying to be intentional though about not picking up any of my little development side tasks right now. I've been actually watching videos about Claude AI, Sonnet 3.5, the latest trending AI LLM. And what they're showing with Claude AI is that when you create a prompt and that prompt generates a code snippet, that code can now preview in a little side window, so you don't have to have the technical know-how of piecing together your code snippets and getting that running on a little local server anymore. You can see that code right next to the prompt generation. So making big waves on lowering the threshold of technical knowledge to get an app up and running. But we're not actually playing around with any of the AI tools tonight, staying out of the dev world, focusing on design. Let's cook a little bit longer and then crash. Oh, tomorrow's July 4th. We don't work tomorrow. Probably cook a little bit longer tonight. Hello, hello. All right, what's up, dudes? It is Friday, and we took the day off yesterday. I was debating on whether or not I was going to, get back into some work and show you guys me working on a side project, but we are not promoting hustle culture here. We are promoting healthy efficiency. So yesterday, I took a break, hung out with family, and today we are back at it. I am again heads down in this project before my presentation on Monday. I am feeling okay about it. I definitely need the rest of today to package things up and have it in the place where I am comfortable with it. I have high standards for myself. It's probably already good in the state that it is. We got toys though. Brand new SSD. Did some research on the best SSD for me to grab and went with the Samsung T7. I was debating on getting that SanDisk Extreme G40, the one that works on Thunderbolt, extremely high speeds for reading and writing, but with the reliability issues that SanDisk is currently experiencing, and with it being a little bit overpriced for the value that you get with storage, where are you going?
I'm gonna go to Dick's and look at shoes.
Okay, love. I love you. See you in a bit. With the reliability issues that SanDisk is currently experiencing, I decided to go with the old classic Samsung T7s. And there are a few things that I learned actually that I should probably share with you about SSDs, because like I said in my first video, when you get into these kind of projects, there are problems that arise, and so you may be facing the same problems that I had. What type of storage do I need specifically for my use case? And also, how can I get the most value for my money when buying that storage? So solid state drive versus a hard drive. Solid state drives, while more expensive, read and write more quickly, and are probably what you want to be using for your active working projects. Hard drives, which have a spinning disk, are slower, cheaper, but better for long-term storage. That's generally my process. I keep a fast SSD for working on my current projects, and then I keep a slower hard drive that is less expensive just for backing up all of my old files. And then I also have a backup for my backup just because those are precious personal memories that I really don't want to lose. And that brings me one last note for the SSD. Since it is a solid state drive, it stores data in a way that is less reliable over extended periods of time. So you want to make sure that you are actively plugging these drives in and checking on your files and also keeping a consistent backup. So pretty chill week. Didn't make too much progress on the pot melt side of things, but that's typically how things tend to trend when I am so actively engaged in my corporate work with this presentation I have coming up. So not going to be too hard on ourselves about that. I am going to have to edit most of this video this weekend. I didn't get to it all week long like I did on the first one, so already slipping a little bit, but we're going to get it done, whatever state it is. We're going to have this ready and in the queue to be posted. All right, I'm going to transfer some footage, but we will check in again tonight. Peace. All right, another week down. Just wanted to catch you up on one more thing before we wrap up this video. I have been working on the Pop Melt web animation tool, and I just want to get these first initial screen designs documented so that when I am watching this back later, I can see where this tool is at in its current state. So let's do a super quick demo and check out this work in progress. Okay, so let's start here with Aninote because the newest web animation tool is really just a new iteration on this initial widget. So Aninote originally started as a way for me to track my animation notes, and this really improved my workflow when I was using Webflow as a prototyping tool, but I was handing off the websites to be redeveloped in vanilla HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So you can drop these notes on your page designs and you can track all of the elements and their properties as they are intended to be animated. And we've got that up online. We're almost at 10,000 users, but this initial state, as you can see, it's very rudimentary and not really much more complex than a basic notepad, albeit use case specific. But as I was building this, I did have a dream state of how I wished I could actually make this function, and that's where the new web animation builder and manager comes in. So I'll show you the screen here. This was the pass where I was just trying to get all of the features that I had in mind out of my head and onto the screen so that I could talk through them and have a visual to reference when I was discussing with Rebecca specifically. We'll do a more in-depth demo in the future as I have more of these screens built out, but I'll go over the new features at a really surface level. So this follows the GSAP syntax very closely. But first you can create a trigger for your animation, and then you can build out the actual animation itself by targeting elements and setting their style properties. And then once you create those animations, you'll be able to see the code here on the side where you can copy it and save it yourself into your project, or save and manage this animation in your collection of other animations. So this one, very messy, looks high fidelity, but is essentially a wireframe. And now I am going back through that design, doing another pass, and this version, as you can see, is much cleaner because I'm only pulling in the features that are of the highest priority at this point. So I think this will end up being more of a reflection of our MVP, our minimum viable product, that we will be using as a reference when we do our initial development. All right, so very quick overview. I really just wanted to get that documented so that when I'm talking about it in the future, I can reference these older versions of it, but I will definitely keep you guys updated as I make more progress. All right. let's wrap this video. I gotta get to editing, but I will catch you guys next week. Peace.